It still stresses me out to talk about this. Hey guys, today I wanted to do a story time because recently I've been thinking about all my college experiences that I had my freshman year and first semester of my sophomore year before I transferred to online school. And if there's any stories that are worth sharing from my time at John Brown University, this is the one. I'm still traumatized from what happened, and even though it's over and it happened almost 2 years ago, it scarred me, man. So I hope maybe, possibly, that you guys can find enjoyment in that part of my life that was just terrible. The backstory to this is I was going into JBU as a freshman. I was only 17, so I was basically still a baby. And the dorm that I was assigned to was really old. I think it was like 80 years old. I'm not sure if that's right or legal, but point is it was a really old dorm and it had not been renovated. So that already sets the scene for something really sketchy to happen. So basically, throughout the beginning of the semester, I had been hearing noises in the room, like scratching noises. It was a creepy noise, but I didn't think anything of it because the dorm was so old. And I never even talked to my roommate about it because I just assumed, oh, it's something with the building just creaking, making weird noises. Until I started hearing kind of a baby doll laugh. And I'm not going to imitate it or try to recreate it because I can't really do it. Just think of a scary little baby laugh. Yeah, creepy, right? And it was kind of indistinguishable because it almost sounded like it could be something in the plumbing because we had a sink in our room. I talked to my roommate about it and I asked her, hey, have you heard a baby's laugh in this room? Because I think I might be hearing one and it's kind of creeping me out just a little bit. And she just brushed it off. She's like, oh, it's just the plumbing. It's the sink in our room. This building is old. It's not a baby laugh. And so I kind of believed her just a little bit. And I was just like, okay, yeah, no big deal. But it kept happening. And I kept getting more scared every time that it happened. But I wasn't really wanting to go talk to people about it because my roommate had already assured me that it wasn't a big deal and that I was just overreacting and I didn't want to seem like the crazy person, which I was already feeling crazy myself. Anyways, there was a day in November, I think it was, I was in my room doing my economics homework, studying really hard because that class was terribly difficult. Reading in my economics book, super concentrated, trying to get work done, and I heard it. Oh my gosh. It started with a baby laugh and went into a voice, a demonic voice that said, "Can you hear me?" Oh my gosh. I got my butt out of my chair so fast and ran over to my friend's room that was right across. Well, it was a door down across the hallway. I ran to her room, banged on the door. I didn't even wait for her to answer. I flung the door open and ran to her and hugged her and said, Lily, I heard a voice. Okay, at the time I didn't really know how crazy I sounded, but she looked at me and she could tell that it looked like I had just seen a ghost or something. And she was a very sympathetic person, so she wasn't going to pass any judgment on me. But she kind of gave me that look like, really? You heard a voice? Like, what? And so I tried to explain to her, but I think I was just so shaken up by the event that had just happened. And I tried to tell her what it said. Like, it said, can you hear me? Ugh. What? I could not handle life at that point. And so she kind of just reassured me like, oh, I'm sure maybe it was just something from your laptop that someone's trying to prank you with, or someone put something in your room. Let's go sit in your room and see if I hear it too and if I can find out what it is. And so we went and sat in my room for probably about 10 minutes on my bed, just sitting there waiting for the voice. And she tried to tell me, oh, just do your homework. It's okay. If it happens, I'll be here. Heck no, I wasn't doing any homework for the rest of the day. So we sat there, nothing happened, and I didn't want to keep her any longer, so I was like, hey Lily, just go back to your room, you're right, I'm probably crazy, probably hearing voices in my head, so just go back to your room. So no more than 3 seconds after she walked out my door, the voice came again. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Again. I darted out of my room so fast. And she hadn't even made it to her room yet. She was still in the hallway. I literally broke down in the hallway on the floor, which is really disgusting now that I think about it. But I broke down in tears. I was bawling and I said, Lily, the voice happened again. She didn't really know how to handle me at that point. I wouldn't know how to handle me. I was a mess. There were people even walking through the hallway, coming back from their classes, looking at this nut job on the floor, just having a breakdown. And I'd never really believed in ghosts or rooms being haunted or things like this happening, but at this point, I was convinced that my room was haunted and that it was just targeting me because my roommate didn't seem to be concerned at all. So basically the rest of the day, I couldn't be left by myself. If I had to go in my room, I would grab someone and take them with me to go get my book and then leave the room or whatever I needed. Later that day, I was talking to one of my guy friends, Alan. I told him the story and he kind of looked at me and smiled, almost like he didn't believe me, but then he said this, you know, there's been demon occurrences at JBU before. What? I didn't believe him. I was like, no, that is not true. And he's like, yeah, it's really true. I just kind of tried to ignore that fact because that was just gonna scare me even more. And then later that day, when I was going to take my brother to work because we shared a car, my sister was going to, I just didn't want to be left alone, so I went with my sister and brother to drop him off at work. And I told them about it. And so I told him what Alan had said about there being demon occurrences at JBU. And he confirmed that. And I know that when my brother confirmed it, that he would not lie to me. When I got back to my room with one of my friends, we checked to make sure that there were no voice recording boxes, that it wasn't someone pranking us. We checked even like the lining of the wall to make sure that there's nothing that would have been slipped inside the wall. We tried to find the source of it. We scoured the room, could not find anything. The only explanation is that it was a ghost haunting the room. So when it came to nighttime to go to bed, luckily my roommate was there that night, and that kind of comforted me in a way that there's going to be another person sleeping in the room, and that if the voice did happen, she would be there and I would know, like, if she heard it, then I wasn't crazy. Or if she didn't hear it, then would confirm that I was crazy and needed to be committed to a mental institute. And we didn't hear the voice that night, but we did hear the scratching and I think the baby laugh one time, which she still told me was the plumbing. The next day, just didn't even go in my room, stayed away from it, was with people the entire day. And later that night, we went on a walk to downtown. It was dark out, but as we were walking, I was just talking to one of my friends walking beside me, and my friend Alan, the one I told you who said that there had been demon occurrences, he thought that it would be just hilarious to pull up a scary laugh on his phone, put it full volume, and play it right behind me. I turned around so fast and punched him in the chest because it scared me so bad, and I started bawling again. He was laughing at me. It was so mean, and I'm still so bitter about it. Anywho, later that night, my brother called me, but I was busy hanging out with friends, so I didn't get the chance to answer my phone, and he left a voicemail. So I listened to the voicemail about 30 minutes later, and he had called saying, "Hey, your room's not haunted. Okay, bye." And that was it. He didn't even explain. So I immediately called him back and I was like, how do you know? Like, what the actual heck? And he explained to me that one of his friends that he had been talking to, he had told them, yeah, haha, my sister's crazy. She thinks that her room's haunted. And his friend kind of looked at him and said, does your sister live in Mayfield? Does she happen to live on Down Old? That was the hallway that I lived in because they have different sections and they call it like Down Old, Up Old, Down Middle, Up Middle, and so on. And Britt was like, yeah, And his friend told him that the previous year she had lived in Mayfield on Down Old, and that some of her friends had pranked her by putting a voice box about that big in a panel that was above the sink in the room. But here's the really sketchy part. The little voice box thing that was putting out all the scary noises, the battery was only supposed to last 24 hours. And that was the previous year before. It means the battery lasted months, not just 24 hours. And so yeah, sure, some of her friends had pranked her, but my question is, how could she live in her room with those noises going off? Or did those noises just stop after 24 hours and then decide to come back on whenever I lived in the room? I went immediately to my room after that to check the little panel above the sink, and there was no way I could get into it. Like, it was a wooden panel. I had to tell my RA to call maintenance, and they had to come into my room the next day to literally unscrew the panel to get it out. How in the world did those girls even get it there in the first place? I do not know. Only me. This would only happen to me. The prank wasn't even meant for me. Looking back at it, I can say, yeah, I guess my room wasn't haunted, but it still kind of scares me about the whole battery situation. But the message that I want to get to you guys is be careful, because people are mean and they will prank you and scare you because they think it's funny, and it's just really, really mean. Even though I know it was a voice box, there's still a little part of me that wonders if my room was actually haunted. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to hear more about my college experiences, give this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to me. I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.